All right, folks, now that you've got your pre-production stuff done, you've downloaded your background image, and you've found some kind of music, and you've come up with your color scheme, the next thing you need is the Unity game engine itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Unity Hub. And let me kind of explain. There's the Unity game engine by itself, and then there's the Unity Hub. The problem is the Unity game engine is updated probably every month or two, sometimes even twice in a month. Like they come out with a new version, then somebody says, hey, we've got this problem, and it could be very unique to whatever they're doing, and Unity comes out with a hot fix and it changes the number. Again, sometimes you get 2 or 3 in a month. So depending on what you're doing, and if you're trying to follow all these new versions, and if you're going to YouTube and you're clicking different versions and you're following different tutorials, you can end up with 15, 20 different versions of Unity and all these different icons on your desktop. And the solution to that is the Unity Hub. The Unity Hub is like a central area where it keeps all your projects, or it maps to all your projects and all your different installations of Unity. So you don't have to have all that stuff all across your desktop. So if I fire this off, give it a second. So it comes up like this. You can see all the different projects, and you can see the versions of those projects. So most of the time you see like I'm in 2021.3.30, but if I scroll down, there's a 2020 version, and I got a 2019 version. And if I go to installs, it shows me all the different versions I have installed. And then I don't need to have that stuff like all those icons across my desktop. And now where to get that from, you just go to the Unity website, and it's just unity.com. Come on, there we go. And you can go to plans and pricing, or you can just go create and hit download. Now what I tend to do is I go down here and I scroll down and I look for the archive site and I fire that off. And if you scroll down, like it shows you all the different versions. Unity 2000 or Unity version 5 is pretty old. That was 2016, 2015-ish. Then they started giving them by year, so 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. So if I click on 2021 and I go to 3.30, you can see this was last updated August 29, 2023. So it's not that old. You can click here and get the Unity Hub installation of it, or you can click here, download for Windows, and you can get the actual installer by itself. Or if you have a Mac or a Linux, you can do those that way. And install those. If this is your first time installing Unity and you're only going to kind of follow this thing here, let's go back to just blank Unity. You'll just hit download and download for Windows, and this will give you the newest version of the hub, which is what you want. Alright, once you've got that downloaded, you'll fire that off and that'll install the Unity Hub for you. And then once you have the hub, you're going to open up the hub and you'll go to installs, and then you're going to where is it? No, I always forget which button it is, but it's just install editor. And then you go to the archive site and download archive. And you can get, again, and this will just take you right here. You go to Unity 2021 and the 21.3 point whatever, and you can just fire that off here, and that will install it through Unity Hub, and you'll be all set. And then you'll just have that one install, and again, and then if later on if you want other installs, you can install as many versions as you want. All right, once you got your version of Unity installed, you'll hit projects, and you're going to probably make a new one. And again, here is where you can kind of set like what you want. Is it going to be a 2D game? Is it going to be a 3D game? Are you using the universal render pipeline, or are you going to use the high definition pipeline? Are you making more of a game for mobile? That kind of stuff. Most of the time you're just going to hit 2D or 3D. So in our case, we're going to hit 2D because we're going to be making a 2D game. And then over here on the right, if I scroll down, here's where you name it. So I'm just going to name this test. Test 1. Please delete so I don't leave it anywhere. And then here's where you put the file location, and then here's the organization. Now you might not have an organization. I'm going to pop mine in there, and then I'm going to hit create. And give that a minute, and it'll load. The first time you run Unity, it can kind of take a little bit of time. The newer the version, the longer these take to fire off, which is kind of a pain. And that's kind of like why I try to stay away from 2022 and 2023. Most of the new features they've added aren't things that I actually mess around with. So my laptop here is 16 gigs for RAM. I have no idea what processor I have now. I have to look. But I have a 4060 graphics card, and I've got 10.1 gigs on a i7. And that took quite a while. Alright, so here's the Unity game engine once you get it on. Every window is able to be moved, so I can grab the hierarchy, move it over there. I can move, if I have dual screens, you can actually move these off onto other screens, which is really nice. Again, everything can be resized and adjusted. But let's talk about these. I tend to do stuff like this and put my hierarchy inspector, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. This is the transition tools. I tend to move that up here. And once you have a layout that you like and you're familiar with, you can go up here to this and you can actually save it. Just save layout, and it'll ask you what you want to name it. And you can see I've named mine JMac. All right. We've got the scene view. This is where we build scenes. And then the game view, this is what the game looks like through the camera. This is what the player will see. And we can switch back and forth. You can even have both those windows open if you wanted to. And there are times when I have both of those windows open. This is not one of those. All right, the hierarchy shows you the name of the scene. So in this case, it's just sample scene. You can have as many scenes in your game as you want. And then each scene has game objects like the camera. I can right click and let's say, hey, now I'm going to put in a sprite or a picture of a square. And that's going to be the player. So the hierarchy contains the game objects in the current scene. And that's a little bit different from down here where I have the project window or the asset section. The Assets section has all the game objects in the project, and they may or may not be used. So for example, if I download an asset pack that has 50 trees, but I only use 2 trees out of that pack to populate my map, then there's 48 trees that are going to be in this project when somebody downloads the game project that aren't even ever used. So the asset or the project section has all the assets in the entire project, and they may or may not be used. The hierarchy has all the assets in the current scene. And then this is just like a list of what's in there. So if I go to scenes, you can see I've got one scene. And you can just make new ones by everything's right click, create scene, and I can call it level 1. And I can have as many as I want. The inspector here is a little bit different. These, when you click on a game object, it shows you all the components that make up that game object. They always have a transform. That's like its location in 2D or 3D space. And that's why you get a position, an X, Y, and a Z coordinate, rotation, and scale. And then we've got some kind of picture for the player. In our case, it was that square, that white square, and that comes from a sprite renderer. So to recap, we've got the scene or the game view. The scene view is where we build the scene. The game view is how the player sees the scene. We've got the hierarchy that has every game object in the current scene. We have the inspector that shows you the components of each game object. We've got the project section with the assets window that has all the assets in the current project. And then we have the console, and that's where we get our error messages, where we display whatever messages we're looking for, and things like that. So, with that said, the next video will start the main menu project.